Hey everybody, this is Brad from Johnson Small Engines, better known as the one-hand mechanic. If I can do it, you can too. Today we are working on a Cadet LX42, and I'm going to show you how to change the oil, in my opinion, and also we're going to put a new drain valve on. Okay, so let me show you some tools that we need today. Okay, from left to right, we have a couple oil filter wrenches. I like to use this one here. It's a spring-loaded, you just put it on your ratchet. And it works out nice. This is your typical one that you see a lot of places. Whatever oil filter wrench you have to take off your oil filter. Oil filter, you have a ratchet, a extension for the ratchet. This is a 15th wrench, 15th crow's foot that actually helps me take the oil drains in and out if needed. A wrench should work this time. Gonna have some thread sealer with Teflon, and then you have their Teflon tape. And of course, 2 quarts of oil, 10 W30 in this case. Now always look at your recommendations for your oil in your area, for your engine. We're gonna need, this is just a little bit of brake clean that we're gonna use to clean off the threads. Then a couple containers here to drain the oil into. This is an old antifreeze container I use, been using this forever. Just something to hold the, right here is an old oil jug here that I'm gonna use to get some of the oil from the oil filter. And then we have a jack and a 6x6 that I'm going to jack this up. So we're going to go ahead and jack this up. I already had it outside so we can get the oil warm. So it's been run. Just going to jack up the center where the transmission is, and we want to lean it to the left side and put my block of wood under. However you guys have it at home, just do what you got to do. I like leaning the tractor because it helps the mess as far as not having a mess. So I usually jack up the front end right where the pivot is, where your mower deck arm connects. The rod connects to the front end. That's usually a very stationary point right there, and you can jack it up. Now it's probably gonna be hard to see on the video, but I'm actually angled. We're gonna go ahead and take this hood off. You have a little clip right here, which is very easy. You just push, pull, pops right out, and then you can just slide this right out. Okay, so I take my antifreeze jug. Now, technically, you pop this off. Now, this is what comes with, I think, all of the Cub Cadets. And I used to like this, but lately, in the last couple years, I've noticed that if you look real close, right here, where the oil drain connects to the body, right here, you see how it's loose? Look at the metal right here. It's actually loose. That's not good. And this had oil running all over the place. I actually cleaned it up a little bit. So what you need to do is, if you have the tube that comes from the factory, I don't know if they give it to you when you buy the machine. Anybody out there who's got a Cub Cadet, did you get the little tube that comes with this or not? But I know this is factory, and so you're gonna have to twist it right here. You'll see that little nibble right there, and then you're gonna have to pull this out. Now, it's gonna come out pretty quickly because I just ran this machine. If you pull this too fast, you can actually pull this off the pipe, and that's a big mess. Trust me, I've done it many times. So what I'm going to do is just gently, now this was in the way right here. The cap was in the way, but I'm doing good by not making a mess. We'll see how that works out. I'm going to try to bend this out of the way and see if we can make it flow a little better. I should have taken that off first. So take the cap off, and we're actually going to eliminate this. You know what I forgot to tell you guys? I forgot to show you guys the oil drain that I'm going to put on here. Okay, so while that's draining, this is what I forgot to show you guys in the parts, but this is a John Deere part. This is a 3-inch oil drain. Here's the part number for you guys, AM131610. You can probably go to your local John Deere dealership, or you might be able to buy this online. This is a very nice oil drain, and it doesn't come loose like the other ones do. It's the same concept though. It has a little nubby on it here. You twist it, pull it out. This is brand new, so it has an O-ring on here. And these really work well. And they do lock in nicely, and they don't loosen up as long as you have it in there, you know, tight. And it seems like they work so much better and stay on a little tighter. So we're going to go ahead and just use this. And this is where, since we're here, you can use your Teflon tape. I like to use liquid Teflon. I've been using it for years, and it seems to work out pretty well. I'm gonna let that set up. We're gonna go ahead and drain the rest of the machine. Okay, so it's finished draining. We're gonna go ahead and put this back in, tighten it up right there, just for the time being. And we're gonna go ahead and take off the oil filter. I like to use this. It's just been using it for a long time. Works out well. You can use whatever you have to take off the oil filter. It's counterclockwise. Now that oil filter will definitely make a mess. And that's where this comes in. I basically just cut open a bottle, oil bottle. And if you guys are concerned about oil on your hands, definitely wear gloves. Just gonna let that drain. Get this out of the way. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take the machine. I want to have it lean in the other way, because what we want to do is we're going to take this off. So I'm going to take this out of here. You're going to go ahead and put a rag here just for now. I'm going to get the oil container out. Okay, so the reason why I have it slanted the other direction now is so we can clean off the threads on the inside of this pipe. And I didn't put the oil filter back on yet because unless you have a crow's foot, the 15/16 wrench is almost impossible to use when the oil filter is on. But this was so loose, we're gonna go ahead and take this out. And you can see where the oil was right under here. I cleaned it up, but I should have left it for you guys to see. But there's a lot of oil that was dripping right here. Now this pipe that's attached to the engine, I have not seen these loosen up at all. Okay, and that is also, you can check it to make sure it's tight, but man, that is tight. So I'm not worried about this being loose, but I would definitely check to make sure that's tight. Now what we got to do is we have to clean these threads. I'm going to take a little brake clean on a rag, and I'm basically going to try to screw that in to clean the threads up. And by inserting the paper towel into the threads and then turning it clockwise, it basically does screw in a little bit. And we're just trying to clean up those threads. Try to get as much oil off of it as we can. I'm just going to pull that out. See, we got a lot there, so you can see how clean they are now. Then we're going to take our 3-inch extension, and we're just going to screw it in. And this will not interfere with the steering. I've already used this on many machines. And it even feels like it just goes in snug. So it just tells me that the tolerances are a little bit tighter than that. The tolerances are a little bit tighter than this. I'm not sure where they get these from, but I am starting to have a lot of issues with these loosening up. And again, this is 15/16, the same wrench. And I get it to where it gets extremely snug. You got to be careful you don't overdo it, but you also have to make sure that it's going to be tight. And then also, once you get to the point where you know it's getting very tight, you want to make sure that little mark right here, just make sure it's sitting up. And then when you go to drain your oil, you're going to go ahead and turn it. You're going to pull it, drain it out, push this in, turn it this way, and you're good to go. Now, as far as you guys thinking the steering is going to hit all the way to the left, it does not. All the way to the right, it does not. And you do not need a tube to put on the end of this, because it's perfect. Coming down past your frame is not going to make a mess. Now, since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put the oil filter on. I go ahead and I fill up the oil filter. It's I usually fill it about halfway, or at least a quarter way, and then did a little overdid on that one. And I put a little bit of lube on the rubber O-ring, just a little bit. And again, if you guys are concerned about any kind of oil on your skin, definitely wear gloves. Okay, so I let that soak in, so hopefully I won't make a mess when I put it on there. And just gonna go ahead and screw it on until it's snug. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and, it has a low and a full. Make sure you clean off the dipstick prior to checking it. I'm gonna go ahead and put in a full quart. It's gonna take most likely about 2 quarts, maybe a little less or a little bit more. So do not put in 2 quarts yet. Put in like a quart, and then I'll put another 3/4 of a quart in and then run it. And then I'll check it after I run it. And then I usually let it sit for a while, do something else, come back to it, check it again, and top off as needed. If you pour too fast, it will definitely come out of the dipstick tube and make a gigantic mess. So depending on how cold it is and how cold your oil is in the bottle, you may have to pour slower. That's 3/4 of the second bottle. You should let this sit for about 5 minutes before you check it, because normally it'll throw you off. Now it says right on the full mark right there. We're gonna go ahead and start it up real quick. Brake on, dipsticks back in, go ahead and give it a fire. Now I usually would run that a couple more minutes just to let that fuel, or to let the oil filter get full of oil. Then I'll let it sit for in there 5 minutes and come back to it and check it again. Now this is probably going to be a little bit too soon, but let's see what it says. Okay, so it went down to about half on the dipstick, so it's going to take a little bit more. I would definitely let it sit for at least 5 minutes. And then this is where I'll clean up the end of the oil filter right here. And I'll go up to the engine and we'll find out how many hours are on this. We have 104.1 hours. So I'll put 104.1 hours on it. And then I know, and you can put the date on there too. And then I know when I change the oil, and recommendations like 50 to 100 hours or whatever. I say, you know, if it's dirty, if your oil's getting dirty, just change it. It doesn't cost too much to change your oil, and I would rather over change my oil than under change my oil and burn up the motor. Now this tube here is 3 inches. Like I said, I gave you the part number for it. It works great. It shouldn't vibrate out like the other one was doing, and it'll be in the link in the description below. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, share my channel with your friends, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.